the brick here. Yeah, she goes even lower. So basically what you could have done here is walk forward, right click at the feet at the brick here, and then look up and melee. And the brick will have died. So there will be the 1 kill, and the instant 1 kill will have land our team the advantage. And we could have won this point a lot faster. Welcome to another video. This will be a review for Miko, who is playing the off-tank on Zarya for our team Get Clocked. So this is actually a actual Gets Scrub Cup match in our first group stage between Ben and the Six Fishes on Team 1 against Team 2, which is North America Team 24, and we named them as, our name is Get Clocked. So I've been talking about Miko having some mechanics issues with her Zarya, and her main thing is, my main note beforehand was that Miko's charging rate wasn't really good enough. I feel like Miko has improved a lot since then. Before this match, her charging rate in the previous scrim matches was even lower than this. So she has already made a step up to improve, but I think Miko can improve even more with this. With some tips that we're gonna give her answer. So first and foremost is why I'm making this video, because earlier today I've actually watched a stream from Dream Overwatch. And if anyone knows, Dream is assistant coach with Houston Outlaws, and I just happened across his stream. Was recommended by Twitch, and he was doing a VOD review for one of his viewers, which is, I believe, a diamond or a plat. I think it's at least a diamond Zarya. So he mentioned a lot about the mechanics of Zarya and how a Zarya ideally should play. So from the knowledge learned, I'll try and pass it on through this review. And anyway, for anyone, I would highly recommend follow Dream Overwatch at his Twitch. So his Twitch is Dream_Overwatch. You can search for it, or you can search for his YouTube channel, which is which is just named Dream, DREAM. So you can search for it. It has good Overwatch content. So some of his Twitch VODs are transferred over time to his YouTube channel as well. So he provides free content, which is, I find it very useful. Just from watching one stream, I learned a lot about Zarya. So first and foremost, we talk about the charge here. Okay. So just like Miko has mentioned to me, she always wants to use her personal bubble first, which I agree, because a personal bubble is a lower cooldown for charge generation. Yep. So what you want to do is, Zarya, is you want to get ahead of your Rein first. It would be best if you communicate this with your Reinhardt beforehand, so your Reinhardt understands, okay, I'm gonna first engagement, I'm gonna let the Zarya go first to absorb all the incoming damage and get charged, and then I will go forwards on the second engagement. Okay, so I think you managed to get your personal bubble in time, and the fact is that also now in this engagement, the enemy Ben is going for Junkrat. So Junkrat is great for earning a lot of charge on Zarya, because his projectile damage, once he left clicks, he can't stop the damage. So you can see the left clicks coming and you can walk into it with your personal bubble, or your Reinhardt can walk into it with your projected bubble to get a lot of charge. So the maximum you can get in one bubble is 40 charge. So you managed to get the maximum here, which is good. So comes next, which is how you use your projected bubble. This is where I didn't like it. Okay, so you see that you use your projected bubble in a defensive manner, where our Reinhardt Kamsalis was actually moving away from trouble. So normally I would suggest to use engagement, the projected bubble on Reinhardt's in a aggressive stance. So it'd be best if you communicate this with your Reinhardt beforehand. So for example, if I was playing the Zarya, I will communicate with Kamsalis. Okay, me as a Zarya player, I'll be calling the bubbles. Okay, so when I have projected bubble ready, I will say, okay, Ryan, I have projected bubble ready. 3, 2, 1, go. So after I finish a countdown, 3, 2, 1, go, the Reinhardt should understand that it's his job to move forward to take a few swings. So he will drop his shield, move forward to be aggro, to take maybe 1 or 2 swings to try and farm his own hammer charge, his own out charge, and to do damage on the enemy. At the same time, letting my projected bubble absorb all the incoming damage from the enemy. So if that goes well, there is another 40 charge gain. So the best case scenario, the maximum charge you can get from using your own personal bubble followed up with your projected bubble will be 80 charge. So that's the best case scenario. So we will always be looking at a guideline. When you use your own personal bubble and your projected bubble, the best case scenario is get you anywhere in the range of between 50 or maybe you'll make it 60 to 80 charge. If you don't get 60 to 80 charge within 2 bubble usages, that can be improved on. Or if you are getting less than 50 after using 2 bubbles, so that is it's a big issue. So you want to look, so when you're reviewing through your own replays, you want to look, okay, I already used 2 bubble here. Where is my charge below 60 or below 50? Where could I have used it better? So the first 2 bubbles are for gaining charge. Imagine if after the first 2 bubbles, you are already at 80 charge, you are already in a very strong position. So you are in pure aggro mode and you can gain your Graviton a lot faster than the enemy Zarya, and you can do a lot of damage to both the frontline Reinhardt shield as well as their backline, which I'll explain later. Okay, so I didn't like the fact that projector bubble was used extensively. Okay, so next up we'll be looking at how, so now you're only at 26 charge. You want to use your own personal bubble aggressively again to gain charge. Okay, and not ideal. Your timing wasn't ideal. So one thing is you could have gone a little bit further to the right here. So you want to force the enemies to shoot you. So one way to bait the enemies to shoot you is you don't use a projector bubble first. Go a little bit of a wider flank, which I'll elaborate on later. Shoot some right clicks into the enemy backline. So try and avoid the Rein shield in this case because you don't have high charge yet. If you're on 100% charge or 80 charge, yes, you might want to left click and try to power down the Rein shield to break it early so that your own Reinhardt gets an advantage in this Rein Zarya mirror. Yeah, they're running Zarya as well. And other than that, you might want to go flank, like for example from this angle. So you want to swing out a little bit, do a few right clicks. So when you do a few right clicks, people are like, ooh, the Zarya is exposed. So they will start to spam damage into you. The Hanzo, the Reinhardt, as well as the Junkrat will try and spam damage into you. So that's when you use your left click and you absorb all the incoming damage, and then you go back into cover of your own Rein shield. And from then again, now your Reinhardt is taking damage. You can say, okay, projector bubble ready. 3, 2, 1, go. Then you use your projector bubble on the Rein. Rein drops his shield, absorbs all the incoming damage, and you get another maximum of 80 charge again. So you should be at 100 charge after that. Okay, so that personal bubble can be used a bit better. So now will be next projector bubble. Okay, so I like this. So you avoided the Rein shield and you are lobbing right clicks into the enemy. So this is a squishies here. Unfortunately, they have a Zarya protecting that Hanzo. If not, the Hanzo. So technically, one right click, if you're 100 charge, is 95 damage. So for example, if you look at a DPS, the DPS is 200 health. And if you look at the Ana here, she's also 200 health. So DPSs and supports are usually at 200 health. So if you have 100 charge and you land 2 exact right clicks on them, they are almost in death territory. They're only left with 10 hit points. So 3 right clicks would have killed them. So landing right clicks into the enemy backline would force resources off their healers. You'll force the Ana to use Nade to try and flash heal her supports and her DPS. You'll force the Brick to use Armor Pack to try and heal them up. So all these are depleting resources from the enemy backline. Okay, so this position is good. Yes, these right clicks are really good. So now you force the Rein to look this way to try and shield his team. And yeah, that wall could have been way better there. So there was a scenario where you could have used a projected bubble on Jamster, which is the Mei there, to try and protect him from dying, or protect her from dying. So I refer her Mei as a her to protect the Mei from dying there. And that could have gained you a lot of outcharge. So just lucky that the concussion grenade from the Junkrat actually booped our Mei away, which actually saved our Mei instead of killing her. And I guess the Mei used Ice Block in that sense and managed to save herself. Yeah, so this personal bubble again, not too good. Is used defensively rather than aggro, like rather than you move forward to absorb all the incoming damage from the Reinhardt and the Junkrat spam. Yeah, you could have used a projected bubble earlier on the Lucio, but now again you use your projected bubble on our Reinhardt where he is like not being aggro. He's actually passively moving to the side rather than moving forward to being aggro there. So that is something that can be worked on with good communication with your Reinhardt. Communicate when you have your projected bubbles ready. And for example, when your projected bubble is down, you can inform your Rein, like Rein, no bubble. or no bubble for 8 seconds. So your Reinhardt will know to play slow and play passive for this 8 seconds, because then he will know when it's timing to engage, when it's timing to be defensive and be safer. Okay, so this is where I believe you should have taken a wide flank here. Not say super wide, but off in this angle. So the Reinhardt is here. So you ideally like your own Reinhardt and your own DPS to be behind Reinhardt to be spamming damage in front here. While as a Zarya player, your thinking should be like a DPS. I should be aiming at the enemy backline. So flank here, take this angle, land right clicks on the Junkrat, on the enemy Zarya. If you can if you are more daring, you can even take a further angle, and you can see the Ana there a bit low. So you can land right clicks on the Ana, and the Ana. I mean, you might kill the Ana or you might not, but you have forced the Ana to use nade. Let's say if you're able to land one right click on the Ana would panic, use her nade to heal herself. So that will deplete one resource from using the nade to anti the enemy team, which is us, or to save her Reinhardt, which she used later actually to save the Reinhardt. And meanwhile, your Reinhardt and your fellow DPSs can take this angle, and you're taking this angle. So this confuses the enemy team, and at the same time, it also increases damage and wastes more of their cooldowns as well. So another thing here is on mechanics. You're using your right clicks way too sparingly. You should have later I'll go through in the training range of what I mean by alternating between left click and right click. But for now, yep. So in this case, I'll explain later in training range that even though Zarya's right click at 100 charge only does 95 damage, compared to her left click at 100 charge, which does 170 damage per second. The left click damage goes by a tick system. So it goes like tick, 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 tick before it reaches the full 170 damage, if you manage to track your target efficiently for that 1 second. But when the right click damage lands, it is an instant thing. That means when your right click damage hits the enemy or hits the ground right beside them, they instantly get damaged by 95. Let me check the stats on the website. Yes, by 95. So it's instant. So it is burst damage that can overcome a lot of healing from the Ana or the Brick. So in this case, when you see that the enemy Brick is so low, she's in kill territory. So one combo that we'll recommend Zaryas to practice is the right click melee combo. That means you right click, you go really close, like melee range to the enemy, you right click at the enemy's feet or your own feet, and then you instantly look up and do a melee. So let's assume all damage at 100%, 100 charge values. So 95 damage on the enemy when you right click, and a melee is, I believe, 30 damage. Let me check the website. Okay, I don't have it here, but I believe it's 30 damage. So 95 plus 30 is 125 damage. So if you look at the Brick, the Brick here is has 250, but she's at 50. So a right click, she's at 59. So a fully charged right click now would have instantly killed her. And even if she's starting to be healed by her Ana, if you manage to right click beyond her shield, that means right beside her shield, and then melee goes through shields, even with the healing from the Ana, she will not be able to survive. So she actually, you could have killed the Brick here. Yeah, she goes even lower. So basically what you could have done here is walk forward, right click at the feet at the Brick here, and then look up and melee. And the Brick will have died. So there will be the 1 kill, and the instant 1 kill will have land our team the advantage. And we could have won this point a lot faster. Right? Did she eventually die? No. So you're aiming at the Brick shield. So this is where right click is useful. Because when you right click, you don't right click at the Brick shield, but you right click at the Brick's feet, or right beside, like maybe to the left or to the right of the Brick's feet, so that it goes behind her shield. So the same thing when you're using Graph later, which I'll explain, is that you should go into the Reinhardt shield, use your personal bubble to shield yourself and to protect yourself and to block enemy line of sight. At the same time, you use your right click on the enemy's feet and you do splash damage to everyone that is caught in that graph. So it goes through shield because right now you're in the middle of the enemy team. And when you're in the middle of the enemy team, you're behind the shield, your right click will land. So this part of the video clip is to illustrate the right click melee combo on targets which are very low. Nope, I want a Brick. Okay, let's just shoot a Brick. So right click melee combo is especially useful for single enemies which are already very low due to your left clicks or due to your team's damage. So let's say this Brit is holding up her shield. If you're doing left click, the damage will be blocked by her shield. Let's say she's in this yeah, so let's say she's in this kill range. She's in critical hit points, and she could be holding up her shield to block the incoming damage while she's getting heals from my Ana in the back, or other Mercy or other healers in the back. So if you keep doing left click, you won't be able to confirm the kill on the Brick. Instead, you're just trying to break her shield. So we want to confirm this kill. What you want to do is to land the right click beside the Brick, as well as do a melee. So you want to get as close to the Brick as possible, land the right click and melee. Okay, let's wait for her to respawn. So the melee actually will linger, the melee damage will linger, the melee hitbox from all the characters will linger for a while. So you want to bring your melee in like this here. You don't want the melee on the ground, because here you have a bigger skybox. So if the enemy was jumping, this melee will still hit her. But if you're aiming at the ground while you melee, if the enemy is jumping, the melee will miss. So you want to do the right click like this, right click melee, right click melee, right. Okay, reload, right click melee. Let's do that again. Right click melee, right click melee, and well, it has an additional boop effect if the enemies are near to like a kill zone, for example, like this cliff here. So we want to land it at right click melee. So you can just aim at the feet, right click melee, and reload, right click melee. Right. Okay, so this will be, so I'm not advising you to do this like when enemies are in full health. So this right click melee combo is specifically used when enemies are at low health or in kill range, like less than 100 hit points, or for example for an enemy, if their hit points are something like 1/3, you can see, oh, they're in kill range, let me go in, right click melee. No, that was a good positive okay. Good positive. Okay, so like in kill range, right click melee. Okay. So I believe the Reinhardt actually could have died sooner. He actually got naded. Yeah. No, he did not get naded. So there's a good wall from our Mage Jamster there. Okay. Yeah, both your personal and your projector bubbles were down. So nothing much you can do about that. Just so we could have kill the Brick earlier. Okay. Yeah, so you weren't in front of your Rein again. So you should have been in front of your Rein when you use your personal bubble. And yep, so disable that. Yeah, so again your projector bubble was used defensively. So it didn't gain that much charge, but lucky that they were using a Junkrat, the Junkrat spam. So Celis walked with the Junkrat spam with that. Okay, so good Mei wall, and this is what I mean by taking an off angle. So your Reinhardt takes this angle, and you move to the side, which is the side of the Reinhardt shield, to do damage on him. So he can only block one way. Ideally, it would be because if you knew that our Reaper Scary Drew was taking this angle, ideally you could rotate to this angle instead. So now the enemy team or the opponent, whoever is caught behind this wall, has 3 angles to block. He has to block to the right, Reaper. He has to block to the front, which has Lucio, and he has to block to you, Zarya, on the left. So this is something that you can practice. It's through a general sense, but you weren't able to communicate this beforehand, so don't blame you. But this is the ideal thing to do. Always take an off angle as compared to your Rein, because you can't really control what off angles your DPS are gonna take. But at least you can see where your Rein is, and you take an off angle compared to the Rein. So same thing here. Could have landed a right click on the Junkrat's feet, instantly killed him. Okay, good projector bubble on our Mei there to protect her. Same thing, left click, right click, left click, right click. Same here, even though you're versus a Zarya, you should left click, right click, because the right click does burst damage. Yeah, so eventually she dies. Okay. Yeah, so I believe the off angle thing will be illustrated further here. So another thing is when your Zarya is already at high charge, that means more than 80 charge, and especially when you have Graph, you are looking for a play. That means looking for a Graph play aggressively. So in this case, because our Reinhardt has already died, you're looking for a Reinhardt to respawn. So when you're high charge, your personal and your projector bubble should be reserved for the Graph play later. That means rather than using it to gain charge, you should reserve it for when you graph the enemy team. You're gonna use your projector bubble on your Rein as it goes in and swings his hammer at the enemy team, and you're gonna go behind the enemy Rein shield, use your own projector bubble, and keep right clicking or inside the graph. But somehow I think it was through our team comms. I forgot why we weren't able to use graph here. Yeah, Scary Drew should not have gone through that angle to take poke damage. She should have teleported up and then came into the enemy from the right. Same thing, the Mei should have gone through here. So your Reinhardt, so the Rein and you should be the one to go through this choke first, so that you guys with your bubbles and your shields, you can take the most of the enemy damage, and you can make a play with graph here. Yeah, so these are because you couldn't see the people behind the Rein shield, but it was a good opportunity to graph and kill off the two tanks, and the graph there could have caught the DPSs as well. Okay, but we still won this because, which is good, you took an off angle as compared to your Reinhardt. Yeah, then this could have been yeah, you didn't want to use your graph here because the fight is already won. Okay, good bubble on our Rein there because it was almost gonna die. And same thing here, you could have used your right clicks to confirm this kills a lot faster. Yeah, you could have right click on your Hanzo as well. So now I'm fast forwarding this. I'm looking at how you use your graph. I want to illustrate. Okay, so right click. So right click distances can be worked on. You miss all your right clicks on the even though you see the Junkrat, you miss every single one of your right click there. Okay, so let's see how you use your graph. So when you use your graph, I'm saying that you use it way too passively. You are way too far away from the enemy team, and you have to always reload before you graph. So you can think of a graph as something for both your team and you to do the maximum amount of damage to your enemy team. Because why we weren't really making a lot of things happen through our graphs was mainly because you were using it too far away, and you weren't going into your graph to use your right clicks to do the maximum amount of damage that you could. Most of your damage is wasted trying to beam down the Reinhardt shield, which is already caught in the graph. If you wanted to beam down the Reinhardt shield, you should try and break the Reinhardt shield before the graph started. But then again, it's also difficult with your own damage alone, and when you're not fully charged, you're only 57 charged here. So I believe you used the graph here. So good projector bubble on our Rein because you went for a charge. Okay, so this is juicy targets to graph. You can graph and kill both the Zarya and the Brick here because they don't have a Rein shield. But you when it was still a good graph. Yeah, so you swivel to the left in court 3. But the problem is that I believe you were booped away by their Brick. Let's check that again. So because this doesn't look like a natural. Wait, they don't even... No, they have a Brick. Okay, they have a Brick which died there. So let's take a look. Because it doesn't look natural that you went back so far. Let's check. Okay, so let's look at her whip shot. So she raises, she shield bashes the Mei. And I think she should have whip shot. She got caught in the graph. No. Did she use a whip shot? No. So the Brick did not boop you away. Was there a Junkrat concussion grenade that booped you away? Maybe. Because it didn't look natural that you went back there. Watch. Should be nope, no concussion. Okay. So one of the Junkrat's left click landed on you, but it was not a concussion grenade. Yeah, unlucky. But the general thing is you should be moving forward and you should be really close to the things you're gonna graph. Because once you graph them, you're gonna position yourself behind their Rein shield. And so ideally what's gonna happen is this. Let's move it 1 second earlier, 1 or 2 seconds earlier. Okay. So when the graph starts, let's say you're in this position. When the graph starts, the Rein is going to bring out your shield, right? You're going to move beyond the Rein shield, behind here. Use your graph. No, use your personal bubble, and you're going to right click in the middle of the enemy team. Okay? Right click in the middle of the enemy team and do damage to all these 3 enemies through splash. Okay. So I'm going to explain a little bit on the difference between left click and right click damage and why even though right click does less damage, it is still good in the example of using it in the middle of a graph. Okay, so let's do some math here. Particle cannon, if you see here on the screen, does 170 damage per second. Okay, so let's assume that we keep our particle cannon on one single target for 2 seconds. 170 times 2, 340 damage. So it will be 340 damage to one single target for 2 seconds. But particle cannon right clicks does, let's assume 95 at 100% charge here. So 95. So let's say 95, but there are 3 targets there. So 95 multiplied by 3 for 1 second will be 285. So 285 for 2 seconds will be 570 damage. So it's 570 damage compared to our earlier 340 damage. 570 damage to 3, spread out to 3 targets compared with 340 damage focused on one single target. And if a target is only at 200 hit points and you keep your left click on that single target after, like for a split, even for a split second after they have died, you're wasting your left click damage. But a right click hits instantly because a right click is it registers like immediately from any targets that's touched by the right click, assuming the distance that they are from the right click. So the most damage 95 happens if the target is right in the middle of the right click, and if the right click lands further away from them, they take slightly less damage. I think so. I'm not too sure about whether the target takes the full damage at the end of the right click or not. Yeah, so this mechanics part I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so let's practice the graph one. So you want to graph, so you want to, like, before the fight starts, you want to be at full ammo because I'm going to do the maximum damage with your left clicks or your right click before the graph starts. So let's reload, have both personal bubbles up, let's graph, go behind them, keep right clicking. Yep. So there it was a little bit unoptimal because I was doing a melee attack in between, but you get the idea. Other than that, now I'll move into the training range to talk about the mechanics of the left click, right click, and ammo conservation. Screen, and let's do practice range. Okay.
Together we are strong.
So I'm gonna try and demonstrate this. Okay, let me just leave the replay here so that I can get a little bit more FPS on this other game instance. Okay, so if you see left click, it does on a per tick basis. For us, because we are not playing on the Overwatch League server where the tick registration is faster due to their instant connection time with the main server, the tick rate isn't as fast. So like you can see, if I do a left click, the tick is like, it goes. So there's a tick rate. So like how long you keep your left beam on the target is. Okay, I'm not explaining this properly. So basically what I will want to say is that, for example, if I'm not able to keep my whole left beam on the target for that 1 second, they don't get the full 170 damage. But if I just land one single right click, if you look at the health here, it flashes instantly. Yep, so this is the instant death. So right click is a right click damage, or the bomb, right click Zarya damage registers instantly compared to a left click which takes time to register. So you can see here, yeah, so it does more damage on the left click, but the fact that it ticks down slower, but right click happens faster. So the question is, should you do right click all the time? Obviously not. That means you have to alternate between left click and right click. And now I'll go into the question of ammo conservation. For Zarya, each right click takes 20 ammo. But the trick is that if you use left click and your ammo is still, let's say, let me try and go to like really low. Okay, so you can see here is 7. So even though it's 7 ammo, I can still land a right click, and the right click still does 100% damage even though at 7 ammo. So there isn't a scaling. That means it doesn't take 20 ammo for my right click to do the full damage. Even if I use my ammo until 1 damage and I use a right click, when my right click hits, it still lands a full damage. So this is the thing about Zarya ammo conservation and how you use is that it will be best if if you see a lot of pro Zaryas play on stream, they do a lot of left click, right click, left click, right click, left click, right click, and left click, right click. If you notice, now my last right click what happened that when I was 9M. So this something that you can practice as a Zarya. Okay, there's this certain, you want to practice a certain tempo of your left click and right clicks, so that every time your last right click goes out, it is at 10 ammo or less. Because we can't keep our eyes on this ammo counter all the time. It is simply not efficient. Right, because you want to focus your target on whatever you're targeting on the screen, which is your enemy and whatever is happening. So you want to develop a feel or rhythm or tempo, make it into a habit so that your body will perform this cycle naturally. So for me, right now I'll try and get tempo up, which is a beam, boop, beam, beam, boop, beam, boop, boop. Okay, so you see the, okay, let's beam, boop, beam, boop, beam, boop, beam, and you see that I'm gonna land my last right click when I only have 4 ammo. So when I land this last right click, my Zarya will automatically reload. So this conserves your ammo, and it also saves on what should I say, extraneous reloading in between fights. Because some lower level Zaryas, for you I don't think it's that much of an issue. But some lower level or lower rank Zaryas constantly reload excessively in the middle of a fight. So when they're reloading excessively, or when they are haven't fully utilized their ammo, they are not they're not realizing their full damage potential or their full damage output. Where if they weren't reloading, if they were doing damage, they could have done more damage to the enemy and maybe get more kills, swing more fights in their team's favor. Okay, so this is a tempo that you can practice. So it will be so this is something you have to do it on your own in when you warm up before a match or before a ranked game or something if you're gonna play Zarya. So beam, beam, poop, beam, poop, beam, poop. Okay, so beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click. Okay, let me do it again. Beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click. And in this case, I can beam a little while. You see I'm at 4 ammo, and I can right click again. So this is something that comes with practice. So you don't have to follow my exact tempo. That means you can do it in maybe other a different variation of this. You can like beam, right click, then beam, right click, beam, right click. But anyway, what you want to do is you want to monitor your that means your cycle of left click and right clicks. The ideal ammo conservation technique is every time before you land your final right click, you are at less than 10 ammo. So for me, beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click. Okay, so that means I can alternate between, let's say if the enemies are here and I'm behind cover, so this is the ideal location for me to alternate between left clicks and right clicks, because I can beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click. And at the same time when I'm right clicking, I'm taking cover just like a Hanzo, because you can see like a lot of Hanzos, they practice like ducking out of cover, landing a projectile, and then going into cover again. So same thing for Zarya. This is how you can maximize your damage, especially when fighting around corners. Beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click. So that one I didn't do it well. See, so beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click, beam, right click. Okay, so my last shot there was at 9 ammo, less than 10 ammo. It was at 9 ammo, so not ideal but good enough. That means if you're doing your last right click when your ammo count is like 15 or 16, it's not good enough. You can refine it further. As long as you're doing the last right click when your ammo count is less than 10, it's good enough. You don't have to like min max to the absolute best, like it has to be like less than 5. It has to be like 4, 3, 2, or 1 ammo before you do your last right click. Of course, that would be ideal if you can min max and you can have a habit to that level extent. But as long as you have this consistent habit and it's something that you practice, it's good. So this is another thing. Before you use your graph, you want to have your own projector bubble and your personal bubble at full, and you want your ammo to be full. So let's say if I'm in the middle of a fight, okay, I'm looking to graph, I want to reload, so let's go into a fight. I'm gonna graph, and I'm going right in the middle of the enemy team. Keep landing right clicks on that to do the maximum damage to both these enemies at the same time.
Quality kill.
Okay, so this is something that you see the full effect better if you do a bot game. You create a few bots and then you get yourself up to 100% charge. Then you do a graph on as many bots as possible. You go in the middle of the bots and you keep right clicking. Then you see like your damage output, the way you wipe out the whole enemy team just by right clicking is very obvious. So that is what you can practice too. Okay, so basically, yeah. So that's the main things I wanted to talk about, which is how you can improve will be how you use your personal bubble, your projected bubble, your wide angle flanking. So to move to a wide angle compared with your Rein so that you can do more damage. So ideally when you move to a right angle, you're looking to put damage, right click damage to the targets behind the enemy Reinhardt shield. Ideally you want to focus on the Ana or the DPSs. So you want to force the supports from the enemy team to use resources. Immediately is if the Ana has used her nade to heal herself or her DPS, she cannot use her nade to anti our team, and she cannot use her nade to save her Rein. So those are important things to practice on.